they're looking to expand their carousel. They want a bigger one. They want a world-class attraction here. So they actually buy one that was supposed to be used at the 1927 Philadelphia World's Fair. So that came to us. They bought it from off of them because it was never used. And then they get it here and they realize, oh my gosh, this carousel is too big for our pavilion. So they built a second pavilion. So this is the current pavilion today, and the carousel that you are riding, that is the one from 1927. I personally really like it because it does have a whole bunch of original horses on it, and the calliope is pretty modern, or pretty ancient as well. I'm not sure if it's the original calliope, but it definitely is one of the older ones. The other places that you can go and visit today is, this is referred to as the casino. It was built in 1901, but the thing about this is you might recognize this as the cafeteria. So if you ever went and ate at the cafeteria, or if you've ever done like the holiday lights, those kind of events, I think the train is put in there during holiday events. But yeah, that's still around to this day. Sadly, there are going to be a lot of changes through the park. So that's going to be what I'm going to give you real quick, is our quick little rundown tour of the park. We're going to start at the main gates. We're going to work our way through, past the Jackrabbit, the Racer, make our turn, and then wind up in Lost Kennywood. Do I have one more on there? I do. Oh, I did have one more. Nice. This was shocking. Brian had to teach me this one as well. I always thought the tunnel was very modern, but this is actually from 1947. This is their 50th anniversary. You can kind of see in the back there. But this once again shows you, this was a trolley park. It was still a functioning trolley park for a very long time. If you come, question?
I have a question.
Sure, go ahead.
I'm not from Pittsburgh, but obviously I'm here for How far is Kennywood from the convention center?
Probably about 20 minutes or so.
Yeah.
25 minutes.
40
minutes by bus.
Yeah. West
it's
Mifflin.
literally just down the road from where I live, so like it's a 5-minute drive for me.
Yeah, it's definitely a day trip. You can definitely make it out there and
Can you
back.
go from the bus restaurant here and there?
I
You can.
think
Oh,
so.
They have a lot of buses. You can go
Yeah,
to the park.
yeah, they definitely bus to
Yeah,
the park
if-
directly.
Yeah.
If you want, I could pull up a map later and show you guys exactly where Kennywood Park is. I'm so sorry. I had originally a slide about like, where are you guys from? But jumped ahead of myself. But if you come to the Heinz History Center, you can actually jump in one of those trolleys. We actually have one of those on site, and we do encourage photography inside there. So it's a really cool place. A lot of people do weddings and they get photographs in there. It's really cool. So today, when you come into the entrance of the park, you'll turn left and you'll see Skyrocket. But whenever I was a kid, there's gonna be a lot of when I was a kid in this, so I apologize right now. When I was a kid, it was the Turnpike. Oh, boy. So tell me about it. Apparently, it's still in storage. That's what I've been under the impression of, that it's still currently in storage. They're looking to do something with it. That's as far as I know. But even before the Turnpike, whenever I wasn't even a twinkle in my dad's eye, I think my dad was a twinkle in my grandfather's eye. It was a amusement park ride called Laugh in the Dark. So that would be an old dark ride. If you want to, there's a lot of really great websites out there that document some of the older rides at Kennywood, and they document a little bit about this. We will talk though, there's a really famous person that comes out of Laugh in the Dark. You'll learn about that individual when we get into the questions later. If you turn and you look this way towards the rest of the park though, you'll run into one of my old favorite rides, the Old Mill. Now, the Old Mill has had many different incarnations. This one, gosh, hard-headed Harold's horrendously humorous haunted hideaway. We could just call it the Old Mill.
Yeah.
But if you were at Kennywood maybe 4 years ago, even 3 years ago, you probably wouldn't find the Old Mill or hard-headed Harold's. Has anybody been on
Garfield's
Nightmare? Woo!
If I can make a joke from Pittsburgh Dad, if anyone's familiar with Pittsburgh Dad.
Yeah.
Garfield's Nightmare. You going on the ride with him, that's my nightmare. But so some of you sound really familiar with Garfield's Nightmare, maybe because you have also watched the almost 3 million views. So this is Kevin Perjurer. He's a really great YouTuber. I love this guy. He actually used a lot of sources from the Heinz History Center. A lot of the things rewatching, I'm like, those are our photos. That's Brian. That's this. So like a lot of the things that they used to make that video came from the Heinz History Center. So awesome, Kevin Perjurer. But yes, this is a notorious ride. When you ride through it, it is very garish. They used a lot of black light paint inside of there. The new Old Mill that they opened up recently has used a lot of that same styling, but it looks way much better. Obviously, everyone's also giggling about the Funkland video because, how did I phrase this? There was a lot of intimacy that goes on inside the old mill, and especially Garfield's Nightmare.
Garfield's seen more action than anyone else.
Again, if I can quote Kevin Berger on this one, yins are nasty. But as you're walking away through, as you're walking past the old mill, you run into one of our many, many mascots at Kennywood Park. This is Cowboy Joe. He's not as old as I thought he was. 1960 is when he first shows up. And he had a cigarette in his mouth until 2008. So I remember complaining about that. That's what you do when you're 18. You complain that they took the cigarette out of Cowboy Joe's mouth. But Cowboy Joe's had a lot of visitors, including Jesse Eisenberg. When he was in town to film a movie, he came by and saw Cowboy Joe. Obviously, Cowboy Joe has been repainted. But Cowboy Joe's not one of the only icons of Kennywood Park. We obviously have Kenny the Kangaroo. So very fun. Lots of really nice little pictures here. I also had to learn this one. Kenny the Kangaroo came out in 1974, and he is named after the 1962 ride, the Kangaroo. Woo! So thankfully the Kangaroo is back. We would have, I don't know, I'm not gonna say I'm gonna burn down Kennywood, but if they got rid of the Kangaroo, I would have been very frustrated.
I think they.
Yeah, do you have a question?
He's been here, you should come.
You will be able to meet Kenny the Kangaroo, and we can talk about it at the end of our presentation, but he is actually going to be at the Heinz History Center. And maybe we could talk about some other ideas for next year. I do want to get Kenny the Kangaroo at the Heinz History Center more. I have to use my slide notes for this one because I do not still know the names of these two individuals. These are from the 1980s. This is Colonel Bimbo and Jeters. It's definitely very, oh my gosh, not Fantasy Island. What's that old show? Where the banana splits are from? Oh.
No.
There was another one, but anyways, there's HR Puffin Stuff. Yeah, it's like that style. I'm not sure. I want to do more research into this. And this is unbelievable. I'm so ashamed to even bring this up. Kennywood Park also had some other mascots like Giant Bird and Cookie Eater. Legally distinct Giant Bird and legally distinct Cookie Eater. Nobody related to Sesame Street at all, I'm telling you. Completely original OCs do not steal. But it was kind of interesting. Brian Butko in his book also shows a photo from the Kittyland, and outside Kittyland there's Sleepy and Dopey. So I guess back in the old days they were a little bit looser with their copyrights. But if you're looking for another great mascot of Kennywood Park, you can go meet the mascot, which is the Kennywood Arrow. And yes, this is an iconic staple of Pittsburgh Americana, if you will, Yinzer culture. The Kennywood Arrow, there are about only 20 of these left in existence, and that was even, when I found that was a couple years ago. But before the days of GPS, to get to Kennywood Park, it is a bit of a twisty, turny, up and down all over the place. So they would have signs denoting, hey, keep going this way, this is where you're supposed to be going. Heading down the Midway, this is a picture of the Midway from the 1950s. They definitely updated it since then. They updated it in the 1970s, but the arcade's a really great place to go. They still, if you've ever watched the old Rick Seaback Kennywood Memories, they still have a lot of really cool old penny arcade machines. I know you were familiar with the term penny arcade, but literally it'd be an arcade that you throw a penny in and you get to see a little show or an arcade game or something.
Is it Kennywood that still has one of the laughing Sams in it, or is that a different park?
Kennywood still does have a Laughing Sal. She has been moved to the arcade. She was supposed to be where the railroad is. They made Thomastown. They moved her over into the arcade. It's not the same. It doesn't terrify you as a kid, personally.
I was actually at Kennywood, I think like a week ago. I looked in the arcade and I didn't see her.
You didn't see her? Oh.
I guess they moved her.
She's tucked away in the back. There's a bounty out for her. Bounty for her. I do want to make sure that I have enough time for everything else, so I'm going to speed through some of these. This was also shocking. 1950 refreshment stand still in use today. I believe you can get corn dogs and stuff there. They did replace the neon lights though.
It's right in front of where the paratroopers used to be.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely beautiful view of the lagoon, and you can see in the background there one of the most famous roller coasters in Kennywood Park. One of our friends here said that he worked worked it?
I worked it last summer, yeah.
Worked it last summer. It is the Jackrabbit. John A. Miller's The Jackrabbit, built in 1920.
Jag-off rabbit.
Oh, sorry?
Jag-off
Oh,
rabbit.
Jackrabbit. It's pretty notable, infamous for its 70-foot, 80-foot drop. And there's also a really cool double dip. If you dig around on YouTube, you can find some really cool footage. They actually filmed the Jackrabbit like in the late 1920s. You can see a ride-on film from the 1920s of the Jackrabbit.
That's crazy.
Who thinks, those of you who've ridden the Jackrabbit, who thinks that it comes off the tracks? It feels like it's coming off the tracks. When you hit that double dip, you feel like, whoa, and the train's coming off and then it lands back on. Thanks to John A. Miller. He's actually the individual who developed the Upstart. Or they sometimes call this the under friction. He was the one who, there was another roller coaster we'll talk about later that had side wheels, but the Jackrabbit was one of the first ones that they put a wheel underneath, so that way the car does not come off the tracks. And that other car was the Racer. The Racer had the original Racer had only side wheels. The newer Racer obviously used the same design. Yes, my friend.
Jackrabbit actually only used under friction pads, not wheels, fascinating. That's why when they go to the double dip, the train goes completely silent.
So what is the pad? I mean, does the pad wear out after a while?
Well,
or?
it's basically just lubricate having a wheel, but it's runs underneath pads,
Oh, okay.
not using wheels.
We will talk. We will talk. This is the Racer in 1973. They did restore the Racer to its original facade. It's absolutely beautiful and gorgeous. And if you didn't know this, it's a Mobius loop. It's not actually two separate tracks. It's one long track. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but one track is always faster than the other. So if you want to bet some money on your friend, I bet that train's going to win. I will let you figure that out on your own. Keep going down the way. We have the log jammer, R.I.P. log jammer.
Rest in pieces.
Yes. It's kind of interesting. When Noah's Ark showed up in 1936, we immediately had a really, really horrible flood in Pittsburgh. When they got rid of the log jammer, there was also some flooding in the city of Pittsburgh, and the media was like, it's because they got rid of the log jammer.
Jammer's revenge.
The bayou during Fright Nights.
Oh.
Yeah, it's really cool for the bayou at Fright Nights.
Nice. I don't know why, I'm obsessed with this. This is like half really fun Kennywood history, and then the other half, these are my nightmares. And you may not be able to see it in the back there, but there actually was, this is where the gold nugget is. Have you ever had those ice cream that's dipped and they have the cherry on top?
It's right around the side.
You're right where the Aero 360 would be, was another strip of rides. And one of those rides is the Ghost Ship. This thing is called My Nightmares. I do not know. It's a skull with a crab connected into it. Really fun fact for the Funkland friends out there. The Ghost Ship replaces the Tornado. The Tornado came from Freedomland Park in 1936. Freedomland was a knockoff of Disneyland by the same people. So if you're like keeping running tabs on that, it's like this replace that, replace this, replace that, replace that. Okay, geez. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but something really fantastic happens to the Ghost Ship later in the future. Kittyland, yes, there is an early version of Kittyland. It's one of the first Kittylands in the country. Making rides specifically for children at this time period is kind of unorthodox. This version of Kittyland shows up in 1927. The original Kittyland was near the Kangaroo and closer towards the Jackrabbit. Where Kittyland is today, that's where the original Racer was. Ripped it apart, got rid of it, rebuilt the new Racer. A lot of old Kennywood fans will always talk about the Auto Ride, or we know it today as the Auto Racer. This is again another kind of automobile ride. This one is actually out of Beaver Falls, apparently. Designed by Traver Engineering in Beaver Falls. So designed and built in 1930, still ride this thing today. It's a really fun one. Speaking of really fun rides, the Thunderbolt is infamous among roller coaster enthusiasts. They did rebuild it off of an earlier ride called the Pippin. The Pippin was also created by John A. Miller. The Racer, the Pippin, the Jackrabbit are all John A. Miller. Like we have to have a little memorial for him. The original version of the Pippin, they rebuilt it into the Thunderbolt, and when they did that, there was actually a bump right where the potato patch is. They had a bump there, and it apparently hurt a lot of people, and it was uncomfortable, so they got rid of that. So there's a few photos you can see with the bump. And what's really interesting is the Steel Phantom comes down right underneath the Thunderbolt twice. It comes through on that side and the really famous one coming right underneath one of the dip hills. I want to make sure I have plenty of time for us to get into our game, and oh, I have 30 seconds. So I guess the turtles, we all love the turtles. It's apparently one of the last surviving, well, there are 2 tumblebugs, but this is the last one themed to the turtles. Really fun ride. The Steel Phantom's Revenge today, once known as the Steel Phantom, they redid a lot of it, including getting rid of some of the inversions. I remember, I think
Some? I thought it was all.
Oh, they did.
Yeah.
They got rid of every single one. Oh, that's my stop talking, dude. Yeah, they got rid of most of them. Does anybody remember riding the old Steel Phantom? Yeah, headache. Even a young kid, Headache City. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Now.
So just because I want to make sure I have enough time to actually get to the game, so that way you guys can get out to your next sessions if you want to. The other big thing is that ties back into our friend Brian Butko is Luna Park. So as I said before, Luna Park actually was a competitor to Kennywood Park in Oakland, and this is the facade of Luna Park. So whenever you see Lost Kennywood, they took the facade of it and made a recreation of it. Some really cool tips and trivia you can give your friends. Look at the word Pittsburgh at the end. What's it missing?
An H.
It's missing its H. At that time period, Pittsburgh was still fighting with the post office, trying to make sure that it kept its H. So there's a few other locations in the city of Pittsburgh where you'll see a H-less Pittsburgh. One of them is the railroad, oh my gosh, can't think of it right now. One of the railroad stations nearby also is missing its H.
Laser loop.
Yeah, I know, the laser laser loop. I was too young to ride the laser loop. It shows up predominantly in the Kennywood Memories documentary. And that whole area was a parking, well, it was a pool, then a parking lot. Then they renovated all that into our new Lost Kennywood section. So it is actually one of my favorite places to go. It's just really beautiful. It's a really classic style old park. It feels like the Chicago Exposition from the 1800s. It's a really nice one. And actually, this is, I'm not going to get emotional right now. Down here, right in the center, as I put the mic down, this one is a salt and pepper shaker type ride.
Oh.
I remember riding that with my grandfather.
Oh, they
So
got rid of that?
I think that really ties in with, you know, why Kennywood is such a special park for so many people. It has so many memories involved to it. So if you want to learn more about Kennywood Park and some other really great information, I do recommend Kennywood Behind the Screens. This is by Brian Butko. Or the Kennywood Memories video. It's kind of late now. It's like 1988, but it's still really fun to watch. Rick Seaback and oh boy, all that fun stuff. If you want to learn more information on Kennywood, we do have what's called Historic Pittsburgh. This is an archive that the University of Pittsburgh uses, that the Heinz History Center adds as well. And we actually have a lot of these photos digitized for your use. So you can absolutely go through there, find some really cool photos. We have a library and archives on site. So we do recommend that if you want to learn more, you can always come to the Heinz History Center and learn an awful lot more. If you're looking for something to do in a couple weeks, we are going to have our big Kennywood Day. It's July the 9th. Rick Seaback will be there talking about Kennywood memories. We're going to have some other roller coaster enthusiasts there, some games, food trucks. Yours truly and the rest of the learning team will be running the games, and it'll be a fun trip. It'll be pretty fun. I will give you this, there will be some secrets revealed at the end, so I'm not allowed to say anything other than that, but some really cool things will be revealed. So even if you can't make it, follow us on social media, because there is going to be some really interesting developments about Kennywood and the Pittsburgh, oh my gosh, Heinz History Center. So I will get this set up for you in the meantime, and I'll let you guys do this while I continue to talk. So this is our trivia game portion. Yes, I do apologize. It is a Kahoot. It's really easy and it's pretty fun. So I have about 20 questions here. Kahoot before you do go on your phone. You can go to let me mute that.